All right, so I am pretty much done tweaking the face. There's still a few issues with the topology. I think I got rid of most of the ingons I had, and I do have quite a bit of triangles, but I think for the most part I'm fairly happy with what I have now. There's always tweaking to be done, and something like that is one of those things that you can just fiddle with until the end of time. So you have to kind of decide and pick a place to move on. So even though there is plenty more things I can do to this, I'm just going to kind of choose to move on. So we're going to move on to creating the neck, and maybe we'll get to the shoulders too. So I want to start by grabbing these edges here. Oops, not all of those guys. And I just want to extrude this down so it becomes kind of level with the jawbone there. So let's jump over to a side view, and I'll just extrude all the way down, and I can add an edge loop in there if I really need it. But first I kind of want to come in and sort of move some things around so they look right. So they're starting to match up the shape of that neck a little bit. And just want to make sure it looks okay from perspective view as well. Basically what we're looking for is somewhat of a round shape from the back of the neck. And since I'm going to be adding another edge loop in here, I might as well just go ahead and kind of extend these guys down. And it's not all going to match up with our side view because we kind of strayed from that quite a bit, but that's okay. Okay, so then I can just come in and add my edge loop where I need it, right there, and then use my merge vertex tool to merge those guys together. And that will give us a starting point for the neck. And then we can probably tweak these guys a little bit too, just to make that shape a little more round. Like so. And then I want to grab all of these going around the neck, so all of those guys, and I'm just going to extrude them, jump back over to the side view, and I'm just gonna extrude them all the way down. We can add in edge loops and sort of fix things a little bit later, but first I just want to go kind of down to the extreme, all the way down here to the bottom. And I'll probably end up sort of rearranging a lot of this stuff because we need to get that, that muscle that goes from the bottom of the ear all the way down to the clavicles, which I kind of have a line drawn for that, and insinuate the Adam's apple and things like that a little bit. We don't have to get too carried away, but we do want some detail like that in there. And it's gonna look pretty funny at this point, but that's all right. And we can see that this guy's neck is pretty thin, so a lot of that geometry will definitely have to come way in to sort of match that. And I kind of want to stay true to that concept a little bit. We don't have to act like it's etched in stone or anything, but I do sort of want to stick to that. So the first edge loop I'm going to add in here is going to be right up at the top, or near the top. And then that's where I'm going to scale things inward a little bit and try to get it to match up that profile. And it's still going to look quite a, it's going to look pretty funny at this point because we're still tweaking it quite a bit, but so these need to come in quite a bit, and I want to keep his jawline. I'm not too worried about his jawline, but I do want to bring in these, so right in the back of the head where the kind of the skull meets the neck. I do want to bring that in quite a bit and start sort of matching that up to the size that I want the neck to be. This is a pretty stylized character, so in this aspect or this respect, it's not really something that's really realistic, but it still draws influence from a realistic thing. So that doesn't mean just because your character is super stylized that you shouldn't look at reference. Reference is always a positive thing for you to look at. I think that's kind of what I'm going for there. We do have that weird line going down, but like I said, I'm going to be changing this geometry a little bit anyway, so at the moment I just want to get the shape right, and then I can go in and make things look a little bit more like my concept art. So this might be a little tough. If I do go in and continue adding more edge loops, they're going to start getting very bunched up in the back of the neck, so that's probably something I don't want to do. I will add one here at the bottom. And the way I want to deal with this so the neck retains sort of a round shape is I want to scale in that whole edge loop, and then I'll move it to sort of be in the right place, like so. So rather than adding another edge loop in here, I don't want these geometry in the back of the neck to get really bunched up. So rather than do that, let's use our multi-cut tool and just cut an area here. And then I can add in an edge loop, go back to my multi-cut, sort of do something like that with it. Then I just want to add in one more edge loop, and then we'll take a look at it from our perspective view. It's not too bad. It does have some weird stuff right there, but we can fix that in a few minutes. But now I want to start from the base of the neck, and I want to start, you know, maybe not going all the way to his shoulders, but at least sort of like a bust area. So like maybe down here and to the start of the chest. So I'm going to do that next. Pretty much the same way I created the neck. I'm just going to go and select those edges around the bottom, and I'm going to extrude them out. Jump into the front view. And something like this is pretty good. I'm definitely going to need to go in and sort of move these guys around. Like so. I may need to spread them out quite a bit too. And whenever I change some of this geometry up here, I'll probably be getting rid of some of the edge loops here in the process. So yeah, that's not looking too bad. We can check it out in smooth mode to see it in smooth mode. Go ahead and harden all my, I like to harden all of my geometry whenever I'm in the process of modeling, because I can always just go to smooth mode and check it out and see what it looks like when it's smooth. But then when I'm in my my level 1, so it's not smooth, hardening all my normals like that will just allow me to see all of my geometry, sort of where everything is. So, all right, so what we want to do here is sort of create this this sort of muscle that goes from the bottom of your ear, and it sort of meets at the bottom of your neck. And if you saw in the last video the time lapse of me going in and kind of doing the this edge loop here, I kind of went in and drew it in, and then I just went in and deleted everything later, and then I just kind of fixed the geometry. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to go ahead, probably from this point right here, I'm just going to go in with my multi-cut tool, and I'm going to go ahead and draw in that muscle. Or that line or that edge loop that I want. It's probably right in there somewhere. And then I'll draw it in on the other side. So maybe have it come all the way up like this. And then I just need to sort of go in and fix the geometry. So the easiest way to do that at this point would just be to select all these interior edges and hit Control Delete. Go ahead and Control Delete that guy as well. Some of these guys I can fix using Merge Vertex and sort of merge them together. And I don't even, to be honest, I don't even know if this is really going to work out flawlessly, but it's worth a try to begin to begin with. I may need to even extend this up maybe over here to really get this to work. But then I can come in with my multi-cut tool and I can just lay out this, so at least this is a proper edge loop, or what I'm going to have is two proper edge loops. Like so. And this is the main form I'm creating. It's the whole reason I'm sort of doing this little part right here. So might as well go ahead and create that first, and then we can deal with the other stuff, getting that to sort of look right and the geometry there to be right. So we'll go ahead, multi-cut, and just cut that in the center there all the way down. And just end it right there at that. We got an end guide there. So it looks pretty funny so far. We just need to go in and sort of evaluate and see how we can fix things. Probably what we're going to need to do is have these guys bunch up and then sort of break this one off, and then we'll have some more geometry come in here too. So we have two triangles there. We can try to get rid of those like this. And once I can always go in as well with my sculpt geometry tool and just give that a quick tapping around, and that'll smooth out a lot of that stuff. It just makes it easier to look at too. It kind of organizes things or puts them in a right angle, so they, you know, the right angle where you can kind of see where everything is flowing. So that's definitely good. I don't really like that quad right there, but I can come back to that. So now I just want to sort of fix these guys. So now I just need to figure out what's going here, fix some of this stuff if I can. Sometimes you really just sort of have to think on it before you go in. And I have a triangle there. I could probably extend that up and get rid of that triangle. So this is very good, just problem solving exercises in general. This will definitely sharpen your brain a little bit doing things like this. It's the same with laying out UVs. I always find that laying out UVs is a very good exercise for sort of sharpening your brain. So you can probably just get rid of this guy altogether. I may get rid of one of these eventually anyway, but I'll just go ahead and add it for now. Make a mental note of it. This guy, I can probably, this will just help me reduce the amount of geometry. And when you think about it like this, we want to keep a constant edge flow to everything. So all these will like extend down to the legs and the chest or the arms. So if it's possible, I kind of want to, you know, just like make sure everything's at a minimum. Like I always want to make sure that every single edge loop and every single vertex is serving some sort of purpose. So just be careful and keep that in mind. Don't let things get too out of hand. And the more geometry you have, just makes it the harder to work with. So let me just run my smooth around here. So pretty quickly we relatively got some nice forms worked out there that we can come in now and sort of pull out and accentuate that muscle. I'm probably pulling it out a little too much, but I can always use my sculpt geometry tool and smooth that out a little bit. And this is where it's helpful to just look at an actual, look at an actual neck and see sort of how those shapes are happening, and it will certainly help you in this process. Even like I said, even if your character is kind of cartoony and stylized, having an actual neck to look at can only help you. So there we go. It is a little too strong, so I'm going to come in with my sculpt geometry and just give that a couple taps in there to sort of smooth out. I just kind of want to subtly hint at it. This guy doesn't, at this point, doesn't have a ton of details in him, and I may add some stuff if I bring him into Mudbox or something, but for the moment I just want everything to be extremely subtle. I think the back of his neck could probably come out a little bit. This is another place where that sculpt geometry tool comes really helpful. If you sort of make a move like this, it's very drastic and you don't want to spend the time pushing and pulling individual polygons. You can kind of just make a very drastic move like that and then just use your sculpt polygon tool to sort of smooth it out. You could also, if you double click on anything, we can go into our smooth or our sculpt geometry tool here and we can push and pull things. So if I really want to start pulling some of those forms out, it's probably a little drastic, so I'd want to drop my opacity down quite a bit. But, you know, I can come in and pull those forms out, and then I can come in and smooth them out like so. Until we get something we like. So it looks good smoothed. I think the bottom here needs probably another edge loop in here to really get some detail that I want. So I could always look at, like, we have a triangle here, so right under the ear. So always, if there's an opportunity to make all quads, use it. So what I can do is I can take this edge loop that goes up and I can kind of reroute that to that triangle, and then I can use this to make one coming all the way down. So now that triangle is a quad. And then I can delete these edges, Control Delete. And then I can use this and sort of reroute our geometry. That's going to give us an end-on there, but I'm going to see if I can figure out how to fix that. So probably the easiest way to fix that for now is just doing something like that. It's looking better. He's got that weird thing right there, so I may need to figure out another solution for that. So probably do something like this, and that should fix that. So it's really the same polygons, same amount of polygons. I just sort of rerouted them. So now that edge loop comes up to the jaw and goes up under the ear. So that's kind of something more along the lines of what I want to do. So yeah, that looks way better. And he has like a very significant, you know, jawline now. I could probably accentuate that a little more just by moving some of these verts a little closer together. And then maybe just give that a couple taps with my sculpt geometry tool to smooth it out. And that's looking pretty good. You can probably do some things here to the throat to, you know, make that formed out a little bit better. It's kind of, at the moment it's kind of weird looking. So that's a little bit better. So yeah, that's starting to look pretty good. And now if I want to go ahead and extend out and start the chest and into the shoulders, I can do the same thing, grab these pieces of geometry here. I could also just drag these all the way out, but since I kind of already have those guys placed sort of where I want them, not quite exactly where I want them. His shoulders are going to be over here, so, and his neck is actually a lot thicker than I planned it, but I think everything will still kind of work out. He might, you know, end up just being a little thicker than I planned. And you can always go in and sort of change the size of the head and things like that if you feel that it needs to be changed. So I can go ahead and extrude out a little more. And then just grab these vertices, sort of start placing everything in the right spot. And now, you know, we're definitely going to need more geometry in here to kind of get started on the shoulders and like probably do a little bit of the clavicle right here. But we have a nice clean area to work with, and it's not daunting because there's, you know, just hundreds of polygons. It's very, very clean and simple, and it just gives us sort of a good starting point whenever we start on a new section to kind of go through and make sure that everything is as efficient as possible. Okay, so that's all looking good. Now we sort of have that bust sculpted out. So next I can start working on the torso. Maybe model in a little bit of a clavicle, and we'll do the shoulders. And yeah,